Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm your host, Todd Blackstock. On today's show, we have St. Louis soccer legend Mark Moser in the house. We'll go behind the scenes from the recent St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So stay with us for this and much more coming up next on Inside Sports. Joining us now is indoor soccer legend in St. Louis. He grew up in North St. Louis County and scored over 600 goals during his illustrious career. He led the St. Louis Ambush to the NPSL Championship in 1995 and was inducted into the St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame in 2023. Mark Moser, welcome to Inside Sports.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks for having me.
You know, we're coming out of the Globetrotters. You and I are pretty much the same age, but growing up, you had to love the Globetrotters and what they did as a kid. Meadowlark Lemon and...
Yeah, that was always a great thing. When they came in town, it was a spectacle, and Curly Neal and all of those. I mean, I remember going to see them many times.
That's amazing they're still around. Well, Mark, let's just jump right into it. You were the MVP of the 1995 St. Louis Ambush Championship team, and that must have been quite a ride. I mean, bringing the first and only, Major League Soccer championship to the city.
Oh, it was incredible. And what the best part about the whole thing was the fact that we had basically, I think 20 out of 22 guys were all from St. Louis. And that's something that I don't think it'll ever be done again, to where a team will have a majority of players from one city and to be able to win a championship. So that part of it was one of the most special things about winning, was just having the camaraderie and the group of guys that we had.
One of the neat things I think about your career is that I believe when you came around, it was kind of the second wave of indoor soccer, because we had the Steamers when we were in high school growing up, and that was so exciting with Slobo and Don Ebert and the Pocket Rocket and everybody. But the old barn, the Checkerdome, the arena, whatever you want to call it, it was such a fun place to play, and you got to play in both the Checkerdome and Scott Trade Center, the Enterprise Center, didn't you?
Yeah, was fortunate enough, growing up here, to even going back to going to watch the St. Louis Stars at Francis Field back in the day. And then when the Steamers kicked off, I mean, it was all the rave in St. Louis. You had to go to the Steamers game. They were drawing more people than any other professional sports franchise other than the Edmonton Oilers, indoor-wise. And then to get a chance to play at the old arena was, the locker rooms weren't the nicest. Mice, rats wandering around the bottom of the arena, but it was an incredible place to play. And then when they did open back then, I think it was the Savas Center when they originally opened it. And the Ambush actually opened that building because the NHL was on lockout that year. Oh. So they built that building, and the first event in the building was an Ambush game. So,
no kidding.
That was kind of special. And then later on, when they did the Family Arena in St. Charles, myself and Daryl Duran and some others moved out to the Family Arena and opened that building as well.
Wow, it's nice to have the Family Arena too, because it's just across the Missouri River. So, you have Chaffetz here, you've got the Enterprise Center and the Dome and the soccer stadium and Busch Stadium.
Yeah.
But a little bit further out, now you have that, and then O'Fallon, you have, where the minor league baseball team plays. So it's kind of neat how our region is expanding.
Yeah, and we have, like I said, there are some great with Chaffetz and the Family Arena. I mean, they're great venues, and they're great places for people to go watch, whether it's SLU basketball or the St. Louis Ambush play out at the Family Arena. It's a great opportunity for people to get out and experience great arenas.
In 1995, you had 89 goals and 115 points total. The year before, in 94, you had 57 goals, and things really started clicking then. And then you became like a total scoring machine. 73 goals, 82, 53, and 47 over the next 4 years. What was the turning point in your career where you just became a scoring machine, kind of like a Brett Hall of soccer?
Yeah, I just think it was, Daryl Duran, who was the coach at the time, giving me the opportunity to play on a regular basis. I had played a couple years before that for the St. Louis Storm, and really didn't get a good chance to play. And then once I got the opportunity, I always had the confidence that I could score goals. And, things just kind of clicked in that first year in 94, 95 when I had the 89 goals. It was just a confidence thing. On top of the fact that I was really fortunate that year, I was the only player on the team that played in all 40 regular season games. So really no injuries. There was bumps and bruises, but you deal with those all the time. And then it just continued. I'd always been somebody that could score goals, and when you're given the opportunity and your confidence gets going, you get hot.
There was no assists involved. It was going for it. In hockey, it seems like it's like the manly thing to get the helper. But in soccer, it's like blast it, man. Get the rebound, head it in, do what you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, my job was score goals. They were not looking for me to set up. I was definitely not a pass master. Probably had some opportunities where I could have laid balls off to guys and I didn't. But I just did what I felt I was the best at and trying to help the team.
Let's take it back a step. Growing up in North County, you played at Riverview Gardens and over the North Coast soccer program. That must have been a nice thing growing up. Actually, you said that as a kid, one of your coaches was Jerry Berwin, one of our longtime employees here, one of his relatives.
Yeah, Dave Berwin, when I was at St. Jerome's playing in parish ball, got Dave Berwin as a coach. I'm in 3rd or 4th grade. I didn't really realize the pedigree of the coach that I had. David coached Big Four and been involved with some of the best players to ever come out of this city. And for me to be able to learn from him at that young age was pretty special. And then go on and, to wind up going into college and playing in college was a special thing for me.
So you found your way to Lewis and Clark Community College. I did read where you won some championships with Norco. But you had a nice run in college where you were at 2 different schools. And you were All-American all 4 years.
Yeah, Lewis and Clark had 2 years there. We finished 3rd place both years, and Florissant Valley was the champs of both those years. So you had the 1st place and the 3rd place team in the junior college coming out of St. Louis, and primarily St. Louis players. So, and then was fortunate to go to Sangamon State University, which is Springfield, Illinois, now University of Illinois Springfield. And my junior year, we had a team that was primarily St. Louis guys with a few Chicago guys sprinkled in, and we wound up winning the NAIA championship my junior year. So I had a great college career and was able to play with some incredible players, and a lot of them I'm still lifelong friends.
I see where you did a stint in futsal. A friend of mine, John Shorey, came on here, and he was a commissioner of a futsal league here in the St. Louis region. And futsal is, to me, it's kind of like indoor soccer without the boards or a very small outdoor court. How would you describe futsal? Because you played it for a while, and it seems like it's a great way to practice soccer. Kind of like playing corkball before a softball or baseball game.
Yeah, primarily, we all played it already in high school gyms where there wasn't boards, and you just, knocked the ball around. If it went off the boards, it was out of bounds. And was fortunate enough to get a call from Keith Tozer, who was the head coach of the national team, and was able to go play in a qualifier and then on to the World Championships. And it's definitely something that is really good for kids' development to play futsal.
Now, you did say you won a national championship at Sangamon
Sangamon State University. We won the NAIA National Championship my junior year. Then wound up going to a tournament where it was Sangamon State, UCLA, who won the Division I championship, who we wound up beating. And then there was the University of Veracruz in Mexico and the University of Dublin, Ireland. It played in a tournament. We lost to Dublin 1-0 in the finals, but the big thing for us was beating the big boys in UCLA.
Wow, that's amazing. Being in Riverview right there, you kind of slide over to Godfrey and then over to Springfield, Illinois, and playing some soccer. So let's hold that thought right now and let's take a quick break, but stay with us as our conversation with St. Louis Soccer Hall of Famer Mark Moser continues after the break.
Brandon met a girl on a dating app. He finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving.
She must be a keeper.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
You gotta stop with that depressing stuff.
That's what white people think. You alright?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Welcome back to the show. St. Louis soccer legend Mark Moser is with us for a few more minutes here today. And, you know, Mark, you're an All-American 4 years at 2 different colleges, and then it's time to go pro. How was the segue from that? Because you went from Lewis and Clark to Sangamon. And, you know, at what point do you start thinking about going pro? And, you know, where do people just agents start contacting you, or how does that process work?
Yeah, back then they had what was called the Senior Bowl, where the Major Indoor Soccer League brought in 80 players to a city. We were in Cleveland my year. All the coaches from around the league came in, worked with all these players to kind of help them develop, and they basically got a chance to see all these players for an entire week before the draft. After that week, I was drafted by Cleveland, was set to move there, had an apartment, the whole works, and was playing in the Prairie State games up in Champaign, Illinois, and at about 1 in the morning in a bar, up on the screen came St. Louis Steamers, Cleveland Force, fold. I made a collect call to the general manager, and he said, yeah, they folded the team. So I wound up transferring to the American Indoor Soccer Association, played in Dayton for half a year, played in Memphis, and then in 1990 was fortunate to come back here to St. Louis, play for the St. Louis Storm with Don Popovich, and then on to the Ambush and then the Steamers to finish my career.
And the rest is history, right?
Yes.
You know, going through your illustrious career, you must have had a couple of favorite coaches and some dynamite players that you played against and with. You know, who were some of the top dogs back in the day when you were playing? Because, you know, we talked about Don Ebert and Slobo and everybody, but, you know, there was always the Jamie Swanners and some other newer era players that came along as well that were very outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate when I played with the Storm. You had players like Preki and Fernando Cavillo and Thompson Usean. And then you had guys like Mark Fredrickson and Daryl Duran, St. Louis guys here that I had watched play for the Steamers and then now playing with them. And then, you know, for the Ambush, especially the year we won it, the addition of Jamie Swanner, Steve Tritchew, Eric Eichmann were some guys that were brought in to kind of solidify things because we lost the year before in the finals to Cleveland. So we really wanted to make a push, and I think, you know, to be able to play with those guys, Daryl Duran, I mean, absolute legend in this town and icon. I mean, he played so many games. They talked about his career being over when he was like 2 or 3 years in because he had arthritis in his feet. The guy, I think, still has a record of most indoor games played. And he did it on the field, but he was also the head coach for the bulk of my career. So, I mean, there's always been a special relationship there for me with Daryl, and by far, to me, the best player to come out of St. Louis.
Was he a mentor to you, or was there a certain coach or maybe a non-coach, an athletic director, or somebody that really kind of set you in the right direction or that you really looked up to that gave you good advice?
Well, I think both my college coaches, Ed Hunnicky and Aiden Gonelson from Lewis and Clark and Sangamon State, were both guys that were mentors, but really were guys that gave me an opportunity and really helped build my confidence. Mm-hmm. It was something that I think I learned a lot from both of them, and just learning from them and having that trust and faith helps your confidence, and that's a big part of the game.
Many athletes, and especially decorated athletes like yourself, they tend to go into coaching or go into broadcasting, and You know, you've kind of maybe done a little bit of both. I know you've gone into broadcasting and you're doing some great work over at KTRS. Can you talk a little bit about your post-playing career?
Yeah, you know, I coached my son for a few years, but then I kind of realized that it wasn't a great fit for him. So I kind of stepped back, and he played for other teams, and I would help out at practices.
Were you too tough on him?
Well, I think in any parent that coaches their own kid, that's a special thing because it is hard. I mean, if there's 4 kids over there causing a problem, you're going to yell at one of them. That's your son. And I mean, so I kind of let him, and he kind of grew into being a better player at that point. But then, like I said, I went to work for KTRS 28 years ago. Best decision I ever made. And the stations continue to grow. And now with the advent of the MLS in St. Louis City, KTRS has always been big soccer fans. We used to air the St. Louis FC games on KTRS. I'm fortunate to be able to do a weekly show with Brendan Weesey. So I continue to stay in the game, and I do the color commentary at times for the St. Louis Ambush. So I've continued to stay with the game, just in a few different avenues.
So in 2023, you're enshrined into the St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame. You know, Jim Leaker is the president of that. There's individuals like Bill McDermott and Al Trost, and Lindsay Kennedy Eversmeyer was a woman that went in your class. And that must have been pretty special going in with the first woman to play professional soccer.
Yeah, I mean, just to go into the St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame was just an unbelievable honor. When you think about the history and the tradition of St. Louis, to even be able to be nominated to go in is an honor, but then to be able to be selected for that class and go in, and to have Lindsay and to have Kevin Groark and Jeff Robin and Michael Posha, guys that were my teammates, go in with me, made it extra special.
Any final thoughts? Maybe you can tell us where we can listen to your radio show on KTRS, any upcoming broadcasts, maybe, down the road a little bit. And, final thoughts, anything else you would like to achieve moving forward?
Yeah, Brendan Weesey and I do St. Louis Soccer Weekly on Thursday nights from 7 to 8. And, we talk about city, we talk about the ambush, we talk college. We'll do a little bit of youth soccer and just kind of have some fun with it. And, that's primarily where I'm at right now is at KTRS, and but continue to follow all soccer in St. Louis.
Anything else you want to do down the road? Any illusions of grandeur moving forward? Or are you pretty content where you're at?
No, I'm pretty content. You know what? I got an 8-year-old grandson, and I just had 2 grandbabies a couple weeks ago. So I will continue to live my soccer life through my grandchildren.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming in today.
Todd, thank you.
All righty. With our last Inside Sports episode, our crew was on the scene at the Missouri Athletic Club for the 2026 St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame ceremony. We had a great time, but with 12 new inductees, we couldn't do it justice in just one show. So here's some more highlights from this year's big night.
Well, your all-time highest ranking is 2nd in America. Right now, you're 7th in America. Can this be one of your greatest teams ever?
Possibly. We have, each team is different, and that's what I love about coaching is that, each year you get new kids, kids leave and new kids step up, and I'm always, I don't know why I'm surprised, but I'm always surprised at what kids step up when we need them the most. So obviously, very talented team. We just beat a team with 3 McDonald's All-Americans, and they were ranked 3 in the country. So, just super proud of our team this year.
So we see these staggering stats with 14 state titles, 795 wins. But where does the drive come from with you? Was it inside you the day you were born? Tell me about it.
Yeah, I'm just super, just like probably every athlete in here, you're just super competitive. And I just never want to let somebody have one up on me. And it's, I don't know where that comes from. A middle child, I don't know. Big family. But I just always wanted to win everything, regardless of what it was. And I don't know where the competitiveness comes, but it's in me.
And how do you get your girls to play so hard for you? Because anytime you watch Incarnate Word, you think, oh my gosh, they play so hard.
Let's make them run. I just think the culture and the environment that we've created. You know, I've been there for 26 years, and the culture set. The kids know what the expectations are when they come to our program, and you know, the best thing that we have is that our seniors are leaders, and our upperclassmen are leaders, and the younger guys, they see what the upperclassmen are doing and they follow suit. So honestly, obviously, you know, I'm on them and demand a lot of them, but it's really the players.
What does this honor mean to Bob Sunville?
Well, I'd tell you there's two things. One, you get to coach, and you do it a long time, and my wife's got the greatest. Denise is here, and she says, 9 jobs, 12 homes. So anybody young want to be a coach? 9 jobs, 12 homes. And as she also says, we'll be married 42 years in August if we make it. So we're hoping that works out. But the big thing for me, Frank, is we got our team here. And all you guys stand up. And our staff is here. Chico Jones, I've been so lucky. I've got coaching staff that's tremendous, and Chico Jones has been, 46 years at UMSL. Javis Flynn has been with me 5 years. Mark Moore's new to our staff. Dale Ribbles in the crowd worked for us for 3 years at UMSL, now the great coach at Westminster Christian, and we've had 3 other assistants that have gone on. They're working in Division I, and that's the answer for me as far as how things go. And then Dr. Sheely and Dr. Hill are here from our administration, our new athletic director, Dr. Holly Sheely and Dr. Hill. And what's great about UMSL is we've got a lot of good things lined up. And then I also want to make special recognition. The lady that hired me, Lori Flanagan, Director of Athletics, is here. And we had a quick lunch one day in Effingham, Illinois 13 years ago, and that was a big turning point for me.
So explain this. You had success at almost all of your stops, but why at UMSL have you caught fire? And for the people who don't know it, he's been to 4 NCAA tournaments. In 5 of the last 7 seasons, he's won 20 games. He got to the Elite Eight, a place UMSL has never been to. Why so much success at this stage of your life?
Well, it's pretty good. The answer, players, Shane Wissink and Steve Webb are right here, and they were fantastic. I told those guys that in the summer, I'll be down on our dock, and I'll think about, I got a little bourbon, and I'm thinking, damn, Wissink made all those threes in the GLVC championship game, or Steve Webb was 3-time defensive player of the year in our league, and that's the answer. You got to get the right guys, the right chemistry, the right mix. And at UMSL, it came together for us at the right time, and we've really got a real good culture. Chico's a big part of that. Javis a big part of it. Mark's a big part of it. So that's how it works.
The DeWitt family, starting in 1916, began this career in baseball with Bill Sr., Bill's father. That's 110 years of the 150 years of Major League Baseball that the DeWitts have been there. And what Tom said, there is no one in the history of baseball, one family, that has been there longer than the DeWitt family. And I think we owe them a big round of applause. Yeah. Well, I said 1916. You talk about I wouldn't say rags to riches, but it's just an immaculate career. Bill DeWitt Sr. from St. Louis started working at Sportsman's Park for the Cardinals, selling soda. His work ethic and stuff was noticed by Branch Rickey. We're talking about, this history going back. We know Branch Rickey. We don't know necessarily about Bill DeWitt Sr., but Branch Rickey, he became his mentee, and he kind of guided him all the way through the Cardinal organization.
Yeah, he was interesting because he went down to the ballpark. He was a big baseball fan when he was 14 years old and got a job with the concessionaire. And, you know, teams were pretty small back in those days, not a big staff or anything. And Branch Rickey said to the concessionaire, have you got a kid down here that might be a runner for me or something? He said, I got just the kid for you, and it was my dad. So that's how he got started at 14 years old, working for Branch Rickey.
Yeah, and then he got into the front office, left a soda behind and got in the front office. He would actually become the treasurer of the Cardinals.
Yeah, and it was interesting because, you know, he loved baseball and moved up the line, and Branch Rickey said you need to get an education. So got a college degree at St. Louis U and got a law degree and never practiced law, but he always said it helped him in negotiating with players and all sorts of other things with baseball.
So he was part of the great Cardinal teams, you know, 26, 28, 30, 31, 34. And then Branch Rickey may have felt a little, I won't say threatened, but he realized how good of a front office person your father was, and he kind of pushed him across the aisle, right?
Well, it was a little different from that, I think. My mother was a good friend of the Barnes family, and they bought the Browns.
Right.
So he moved over to the Browns when that happened, and
Yeah.
You know, his career continued on.
Well, his career continued on. He led, it was president of the Browns from 36 all the way up to when they left. And during that period, we'll come back to the World Series in a minute, but during that period, he would become the owner of the Browns as well. So that young boy selling soda at Sportsman Park was soon going to not only own the stadium, but he also owned the team, the Browns. So, I mean, think about that for a young kid selling soda, and the next thing you own the stadium and the team.
Well, the Browns were struggling, and he didn't have the money to buy the team, so he talked the American League into lending him the money. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know, if you want a good operation here, I'm willing to buy the team, but I don't have the money. They actually lent him the money to buy the team. And, you know, they did pretty well with it, but...
It'd be a little hard to do that today.
Yeah.
That's our show for today. We'd especially like to thank Mark Moser for joining us in studio. We want to thank you for watching Inside Sports on STL TV. Experience St. Louis.